All right. Uh, Welcome to a special COVID-19 edition of the Team Meeting 2023-19. I think we have not too long of an agenda, right? Central, you prepared this.
Yeah, it's not too much. It's a few nominated PRs and stuff and old things.
So one thing I wanted to request on the topic, looking at the design meetings, on the topic of FFI Unwind, for those who attended the meeting or who have feelings, I think it would be great if we could sort of people might write up just a little bit about what they think we should do and why. I put a comment along the lines of what I was saying. I'm not anticipating like a super long thing, but I thought it'd be useful to get a sort of survey of where people feel they stand at the moment. So we can try to bring this to a close. I have an example comment that I wrote. I have an example one here that I wrote, and I don't know if there was some comment by AC Fulzer that I think he plans to write another one, but he wrote an initial one that seemed okay to me. You can get the idea there. It's just like a paragraph. That's it. That's all I wanted to say about that. Sealed rust coming up.
So,
in theory.
Did we have anything specific to discuss? James sort of wanted some questions. I'm not sure whether we had any.
No, I didn't have. Well, I thought we would talk about the sort of review the plan and how it might interact with the possible spec and what they would need sort of from us or for us, with us, and so on. James and I have talked about that a little bit, but I thought it'd be useful to have a broader conversation about it.
Right. I had a talk with James as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be useful to.
I don't have specific questions, I guess, but I'm sure some will come up during the meeting.
And then we will take some time. Some well-deserved time.
Yep. Any updates in these items here?
On the shepherd items, probably not, except for the FFI Unwind thing. However, there's the type aliases and bounds thing, which we will get back to later in the meeting, so we can just catch up there.
Which thing?
The type aliases and welfulness.
Okay. All right, so we skip down to that then? That's a nominated thing.
Yeah.
Is that this one?
Oh, by the way, I saw, how is the Nevertype stuff going? Just see, there were some movements.
I talked to Aaron and we sent two messages, I think, but yeah, I was gonna write to him again. It sounded like he was interested in at least hearing what I was thinking, so that's good.
Cool. That sounds promising.
It's better than nothing. Okay, so was this the thing you were talking about, the well-formedness check on type aliases?
Right.
And there's some creator data?
Yep.
Okay.
So in this PR, so right now we don't check well-formedness for type aliases. They're sort of just syntactic. So on at the definition sites, we don't check that. For example, if you have projections, that you actually have a bound that allows that projection, and at the use site, we don't actually check that like bounds on the type parameters are enforced. So that's the gist of the current situation. And Esteban has a PR here which specifically performs welcomeness checks for type aliases with no parameters. Sort of, um, I think his prime motivation behind this is better error messages, which is you can clearly see in the diff of the PR. But so we did a create run for this one, and it had some 41 regressions. I don't think anyone has triage done, except to say that Bitvec and domain seem to be the most requested traits. However, I noticed one thing, and that is that one message was the trait bit order cannot be made into an object, and so we have a feature which sort of changes the well-formless rules for trait objects specifically, so that might resolve that specific error, I think.
These are the crates here, I guess.
Yeah, if you go for the Bitvec one specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
The not that link. That link, yeah. So if I remember,
must be an unused type alias.
I'm not sure, but it's but bit order is a trait and apparently cannot be made into a trait object. Yeah, so it must be unused inside the trait. Right, that makes sense.
Okay.
But if I remember right, we have a feature which relaxes the rules for well-forms for trait objects specifically, which would probably make that not an error anymore.
I think that's right. That feature, but
Objects, they
yeah, it kind of interacts with the other DIN trait coherence stuff, which I haven't made much progress lately. But yeah, plausibly that one might not be an error because that allowed you to reference traits kind of all the time, even if they weren't.
Yeah, so that might be nice in terms of mitigating the fallout. Object safe for dispatch is the name of the feature.
Right.
So on a meeting, on a previous meeting, we sort of, I think what Scott floated the idea that we would change this on an addition boundary rather than do it for all additions.
That was something we had talked about. I guess I'd want to see the rest of the data. We should find the issues where Eddie was taking into it, or the PRs.
Yeah.
Maybe I can just ping Eddie about it.
Probably easiest to just look for Eddie's PRs and stuff and go through them.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, that's a good update.
And Scott is here. Hi, Scott.
Hi.
We were just talking about your idea to do the well-formless checks for type aliases, perhaps on an addition boundary instead of doing it for all additions. But I'm not exactly sure what we want to do about this now. Perhaps we want to schedule a meeting or something. But ideally, we should have some sort of better data, a list of all the PRs and stuff.
I feel like somebody would have to sort of own that effort to prepare.
Yeah. Does anyone feel?
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever had a decision on what we think the behavior there is supposed to actually be or why. So,
right.
I don't know if I'm feeling either way.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, I guess I think that if the most consistent thing would be to enforce the bounds and treat them, but I don't know. I would want to talk it over, especially consistency versus breaking changes versus whatever.
Yeah.
It's really obvious.
That was my vision, but I don't think I've, got a really good justification that, of course, this is the more concrete reason why we should be checking these things.
Well, it feels kind of strange. From my perspective, this is a bug, especially the not enforcing the bounds part, because that is sort of surprising. The users said they wanted to enforce a bound, but now it isn't. It would be so like if you can't enforce the bound, it would be better to not allow the bound in the first place.
Yeah, I suppose I agree with that one. I'd been thinking more on the side of, do we want them to be something that is inherently checked, or do we want them to be more macro-like? But yeah, it does seem like if they're specifying something, we shouldn't be ignoring it at the very least.
But I might be okay with something where, like, we should probably wait for the meeting, but there is sort of a middle, like if we took something like what Scott was proposing and combined it with the rationalization that I mentioned of assuming that there's sort of an implied where clause that the right-hand side is well-formed. And you might say that prior to 2021 Rust, we sort of desugar it to this where clause, and after we don't. And that kind of fits with the addition concept, that there's some elaborated form that, they compile to a single language. So and it would solve the problem that when you do write bounds, they would get enforced as you would expect, which would be a breaking change, but probably we'd have to see what the impact is. I don't know.
It's probably my guess is
sounds like a good start.
Yeah, my guess is that it's sort of the projection part that is more likely to break lots of breaks, rather than the
what's the
bounds
projection part?
If you have like I as iterator and then project to item, and then you don't have a bound that says I is item.
Right. That's why you would do that on the addition. Like you wouldn't require that until the addition.
Right.
Degree.
Right.
This is relaxing. Yeah.
Thank you. But that would be my guess too, that when people write bounds, they're probably not writing them for no reason.
Yeah.
There's probably some out there, but that does feel like a bug fix. Right? So we could probably convince people to update those crates if there aren't a lot.
But perhaps after the sometime in April, meet after the 31st or something would be a good time.
It's on the list, so I guess we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
There was another nominated thing that had an update, right, Central?
That's the never type regressions we already talked about, and the welfomist thing we just talked about. And so there is another issue, which is about omitting unused parents on unnecessary blocks. And this is blocks, not parentheses.
Where is that?
It's the first nominated PR.
Oh, nominated PR. This one. Ah, okay.
So this felt a bit strange to me. I guess it makes sense in some way, but at least with the lint name, it sort of feels.
Where's an example? I'm sorry. I think
you have to look at the diff.
This would be like if I write something like this, I get an unused paren warning.
I'm not sure your screen is showing.
Oh, it paused my sharing. Sorry. It's because I moved it to another monitor, so I wouldn't always be looking like this.
Right. This would lint against that, but there are quite a few restrictions to ensure that there are no semantic changes, and restrictions due to like cross generics not being fully fleshed out.
I mean, I think the name is pretty surprising. I agree. Like, it seems like unnecessary block or something. But
Yeah, it wouldn't be too difficult to just rename the lints while we reusing the infrastructure. It's basically just a static that you switch out.
I feel like I at least, I don't know, maybe I'm strange. I never felt a desire for this lint, but that's okay. I know I sometimes do things like this in other code, but
Right.
in
Yeah,
order
I do that sometimes too.
just
But
to
I
hack
think
the way formatting works.
yeah, I think in that case the lint wouldn't apply due to one of the several restrictions. It says like the block contains exactly one expression, and
Oh, but a comment isn't an expression, right?
the
Oh,
that's
and
what,
comments are still there in the tree at that point when we're running this.
They won't be.
if you are checking for them explicitly, maybe, but I don't see the code doing that here. Oh, but if it's multi-line, then it doesn't. Then the links doesn't fire apparently.
Ah, okay. So the lint. It's a
There's a
very
lot
narrow.
of
Okay, that's a good distinction.
There's a lot of ad hoc restrictions.
Seems like a lot of, I don't know, it's kind of more of a compiler team, I guess, concern, but it's a lot of code for a lint that almost never fires. But
Yeah, I guess it's a generics thing, but it.
const generic,
No.
like, will this be more relevant with const generics? Is that the idea?
I think so. Or at least that's sort of why this lint is being extended in this way. If you check the diff, it's mostly like const generics. You have into iter of t, and then you have like, yeah, those.
I see. Okay. Well, that's more
Because of the it's a remove the disambiguator when possible more than a
Yeah, and
unused parents kind of a thing.
right. So this, previously you had to use the braces, and due to improvements, you don't have to anymore.
It seems also true that if I'm writing like fresh code and I've never used const generics before, and it's recently stabilized, that the chances of me putting braces there are essentially zero.
Yeah, although you might like have a big expression and then simplify it, and
You might
And
get
move it to
taught to put the
constraints,
braces there so that they don't have to teach you that sometimes there's braces and sometimes they're not, and they can leave it up to the compiler to teach you that part.
I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion about it. I guess
Yeah.
it seems okay.
Yeah, me neither. The only weird thing is the name. My view, but it's not a big deal.
I think I'd prefer a different name. I think it's going to be surprising.
Yeah.
More lint
Yeah, I agree.
names seem to always be better in general, and if it says parent and it affects things that aren't parents, that feels bad.
Did you say earlier that it wouldn't fire here because there's a new line in the middle of the block? Or did I misunderstand that?
It has, if you check
This case,
the,
you mean, Felix?
I was talking about let y equals, yeah.
That's what Central said. If it's a multi-line block.
yeah, I'm sort of looking at the actual implementation, and it says source map, and it uses source map is multi-line. So
You could
that's
add a
good.
test for it. But
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Oh, there is a test for it, and it doesn't fire.
I will say that it does feel pretty surprising to have lint behavior for something like unused braces depend on how many lines you have in the expression. But
Yeah.
it's also possible that we don't care because nobody will notice in practice.
yeah, I mean, there's room to tighten it up.
I think I agree with both of your statements there, yeah.
My first concern when I read this code was, is this going to regress compile times? But probably not.
Yeah, I don't. It's not like I don't have that strong of an opinion about the multi-line thing. I mean, I think I may have written code like this a few times, but I probably always ended up removing it because it looks kind of weird at the end of the day. Anyway.
All right. So I think it seems like our suggestion is maybe use a different lint's name, but otherwise we have no objections.
Yeah, except for I agree, I have no problem. I have only the passing note that a lot of these things also feel like, I guess Rust format would have trouble doing this, huh? Because it has some subtle semantics.
Yeah, I think some of the restrictions are actually to like not go against the grain of Rust format.
But at least the case that's actually motivating this of arguments in like const arguments in lists that are a single identifier, Rust format could totally just do. Right?
Yeah.
I tend to, lints are nice. I guess personally, I just like these things to just disappear even more. And then
Yeah.
No.
Definitely. All right, I'll leave a comment after the meeting. And
Well, I'm gonna post a suggestion. It's not.
Cool.
I'll put it in another window so it doesn't stop our whole meeting. But
moving on. So the next PR is use generator resume arguments in the async await lowering. So this is basically using resume arguments so that we can use async await in no std functions and stuff. It does add to the like spec and the internal requirements on the language, but I think everyone I've heard of agrees we want to do this. So let's rubber stamp it.
I do agree. You mean when you say it imposes new requirements, you mean that there needs to be some way to thread that state down?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
But it seems like everyone is in favor of doing this, I think.
I think so. We should do it. It's a no-brainer.
Cool, let's do it.
All right, so someone needs to write a comment on that.
I will do that.
Okay.
Then there are various things about arc drop and different like floating points to integer cost. Oh, by the way, Amanu, has there been any progress on the on the request language you had for the libstream?
Was
You're
this
referring to this
floating
one?
point one?
The approx unchecked thingies.
I had some objections on the function naming.
Is this
Okay,
okay? This so I'm a little confused. Are we talking about the floating point to integer cast?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Um,
These ones. Okay.
All right. It seems like
So there's discussion.
y'all can resolve that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, this was a week ago, though.
I'm hoping to follow up soon and probably with a pull request with some new naming that I have not had time to think of yet. Or I guess that naming that one you suggested.
Cool. I personally have no opinions about naming,
Yeah.
so whatever y'all feel is right. And the arc drop, I think there has been no new developments here.
Yeah.
Do we want to sort of do anything about the idea? So we sort of had a murky, unspecified idea of making some unsafe things nicer to work with, but do we want to do anything with that? Like less murky?
I sort of do, but I also don't feel. I think we'd have to have the right person with the right amount of bandwidth to do it. I mean, one very concrete thing we could talk about that's not that is also adding methods, like adding support for raw pointer methods. But it's a smaller, more targeted thing, but I guess it's not that small even. Yeah. You're referring to the like ampersand. So boats had this idea that they were playing around with ampersand unsafe and trying to be a nicer version of raw pointers.
I think there were different various ideas.
Right.
I'm not sure the async async block parsing specifically might not be the best idea from a parsing perspective. I would have to check.
I'm
it's
wondering.
sort of a lot of look ahead due to like unsafe function and stuff in the parser already, and it's very complicated, but it might work.
Wait, what are we talking about? Async blocks?
Unsafe blocks.
For this disambiguation. Got it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if we had made a list of. That's why I'm looking at these notes. If we had made a list of kind of other problems. I mean, I see here some of the points that boats raise, like the non-null question and so forth. Because that would be a sort of starting point, but it'd be nice. Boats is trying to figure out their situation. It'd be nice if they wanted to, since they had thoughts about it. It'd be nice to have them present.
Right. But it seems like right now there's no one who has the bandwidth to take this on, or no one who has the clear interest to do that, at least in this meeting.
Yeah, I don't think so. At least not in this meeting.
Cool. So I think that is everything.
I think that's everything. Thanks, everybody. I'll post this actually today since I forgot to do it last week.
And Nico, one question. Did we end up recording the Monday's design meeting, or did that not happen?
I think I did, and
I didn't see anything on YouTube.
I didn't post it, but I think I recorded it, and I will post all those things after this meeting.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, I do have. Yes, I have a recording. I have a recording that claims it's about a sealed dust design meeting, but I doubt that's true since that didn't actually happen. Hopefully I have another one. Hopefully it's actually the other meeting.
I want whatever time travel machine you're using.
Yes. Hopefully Zoom gave it a funny name. But, all right, see ya.
See ya.
Everybody.
Bye.
Yep.